This is the September 27th, 2017 Sustainability Board regular meeting.
All right, I'd like to call to order the September 27th meeting of the Sustainability Board, Satellite Beach. Let's start out with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So we have a couple of new alternates tonight. Amy Alda and Christopher Reed. Yes. Welcome. So we can. I'd like to open the floor for public comment. Anybody? All right. No public comment.
I have a thing.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Zach Eichels. Asif is not here, but he wanted me to show you guys this. In his country, Kenya, they recently passed a plastic bag ban on single-use bags, and this is the actual bag that they have replaced it with. This is a government-issued cloth bag.
Wow.
And they have now some of the heaviest fines in the world if you violate the ban. It's like something like $400 or equivalent of getting charged. But yeah, this is what he wanted me to show you.
That's really cool.
And maybe Satellite could standardize some bag like this. I'll pass it around.
We can probably use them in our events.
Did he give any idea what they cost?
No.
How sturdy are they?
I don't know.
Rip it.
Is it biodegradable?
I don't know.
Paper. Feels like paper.
I really don't know much. He was
Is
just
it
like, show them this.
paper, kind of?
So yeah, the entire country did that.
So are these considered, reusable, or
Yes.
is it just, okay.
I know they're supposed to be used over and over again.
Obviously, they don't have as big grocery loads as we do.
Yeah. So.
Or they just go more frequently?
They can avoid frequently.
That, I'd really be interested in if he could give us more information,
Yeah.
Is it paper, or is it plastic? It does feel like paper.
He said cloth.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Well, he said cloth.
And my suspicion is it may be biodegradable, just from the whatever, so I think that's neat.
Wow, it's strong, too. Nice.
He could start an importing business.
So I actually did cloth diapers with both of my kids, and we got these disposable but biodegradable, flushable liners that were paper liners, and they were actually a very similar, I would say, thickness to this. I think there was a little bit more like a hole opening because it was just for any waste, you could just pick it up and then put it in the toilet and flush it. So it just made cleaning the diapers a lot easier. But it felt very similar to this, and it was really sturdy. It didn't rip or come apart.
Also, I guess another question is, are they made in country or imported?
I will ask him.
Yeah,
That'd be a good question.
because if they were, domestically made, then you're supporting that economy.
All right, do we have a public comment?
Yeah, and I'm Bo Platt. I'm from across the river in Melbourne. I wanted to invite you all to an event that's coming up October 19th. Still a ways away, but it'll be at FIT's Gleason Auditorium at 7 o'clock. It's going to be an evening devoted to sustainability. We'll have some speakers. As a matter of fact, your own Courtney Bark will be there. Ken Lindeman from FIT will be there, and then we'll have a panel of folks also just updating us on things like the lagoon program, the National Estuary, things like that. So free of charge. It's on Eventbrite.
Who's sponsoring it?
It's co-sponsored by the Brevard Indian River Lagoon Coalition and FIT.
Okay.
So.
Thanks.
And Zachary's going to be sharing that presentation with me. So he's a way better speaker than I am, so I slough it off onto him. So he'll be sharing that presentation with me. Also, this Friday is another lagoon panel discussion, I think, over at FIT. Hold on a second, let me pull it up. The IR Tech Conference is this Friday? Is that this Friday?
Yes, it's Friday, yes.
Yeah.
Robert Weaver is going to be leading it.
Right.
to FIT.
So if any of you all want to go to that, just let Julie know, and we'll sign you up. Good to go. It's an all-day event.
Yeah, it's all day.
So if you can't go all day, you can at least go in and out. There's different events, speakers
Is
and
there
stuff.
a published agenda?
Yes. it's all
Yes,
day.
we can email it to you,
That'd be a good idea.
but I actually just got notified of it yesterday, so.
I have it printed on my desk.
Okay, are there any additional public comments? Okay, I'm moving on. Staff update on sustainability initiatives.
Sure. Oh, Courtney, you want me-
ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll start with the community garden. Did everybody get the email about the community garden? Yes? Good, fantastic.
Do you have
Fir-
flyers with you?
There are some printed flyers up front.
Awesome.
I first would like to welcome our new members. Thank you for being here. So we printed out over 100 flyers. I went around to local businesses and flyered all week so far. I think I covered most of them. If there's anyone that you haven't seen covered, please let me know, or take it upon yourself to print out the link that I think Julie sent to everybody. And you can print out flyers, and we'll put them at all the local businesses. I covered most of Satellite and Indian Harbor. So that's advertising for the event, and then that brings me to the next part of advertising is the video. Dylan is going to work with us to put the video out
Next week, it's a few days.
hopefully Monday.
Yeah.
Monday, so that we can have that portion of advertising taken care of. The event has been created on Facebook. Please like it and share it. Again, thank you all for your patience with this due to the hurricane and everything else. The materials are ready as far as the tables, the chairs. I talked with Rec, and we have all that ready. The band will play. Actually, I got an additional bit of music that'll show up as well before the event is setting up. Adam Azar plays a little bit of a kind of acoustic reggae island music, and he'll play in the beginning, and then we'll go into the event, and then Wild and Blue will play after the ribbon cutting and the speeches. I'm not going to go over the whole event because we've already done that for the most part, but just to say that all the things are in place. The food truck has agreed to show up again, so we have Coastal Kitchen, we have the music. Going to be doing some tidying up there this week. I want to thank Dave Floyd for the help on the irrigation system before the hurricane hit, because now we have over 700 gallons of water, which is fantastic. Tomorrow, I'm going to be working over there to install the remaining irrigation from the rain barrel system. It's a 1.5-inch pipe, right, that we have coming out with the valve. That's going to go down to the funny hose, which is going to go out to each bed, and I'll stake each bed with a 180-degree sprayer.
Nice.
And so that covers most of the community garden. Does anybody have any questions on the community garden before I move forward to a new topic?
I brought over the clear tube. I
Oh,
just left it there.
Okay.
We'll have to pipe that up too sometime before that starts.
it's at the community garden now?
Yeah, so that tells the level of the rain barrels, basically.
Awesome. I'll go by, I'll pick it up tonight just to make sure it's still
How
there.
many gallons are in there.
Yeah.
But then we need to reattach the.
I got an email going to Public Works about that.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then we're going to go in and put some new mulch and stuff like that. Just,
And there's a couple places that are leaking, but it's be real easy to fix.
yeah, I'm going to go around it with the glue again, and then maybe some white duct tape,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Hey, just text me or.
Okay, well, we'll
Yeah, we'll get to
meet
that.
before the event. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions on community garden?
I had a comment about the measurement thing. We have the same system in ours, and we have a pool noodle over ours to prevent algae growth in the sun.
You have a what?
A pool noodle covering.
Oh, and then you just take it off, the slick?
That's a good idea. because
That's cool.
So,
We're either gonna get like a bottle brush or something to clean it out.
a pool noodle, if it's the right diameter, should be able to just
Cover it. That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Good call. So I want to talk about the upcoming Sustainability Summit that Dave Floyd and Jazzy are going to be working to create with the other cities. That was something that we discussed last time. Has anybody reached out to anybody within the past month? I know hurricane happened, so, okay. So I was hoping to either get with you both and create a timeline so that we can kind of keep this on a schedule. Is there a time when we can meet, maybe after the community garden, let's say, to talk about it?
Yeah, any Monday, Wednesday, Friday is good for me.
And since Courtney's here, Courtney, did you have a deadline that you wanted to create that by?
I think now that Melbourne's creating theirs right now, we should slow down to do it after they have theirs put together, so we can include them. So that would be my recommendation, to shoot for the summit to occur in maybe January. Because it would be, I think it would be a great event, and we can make it as big as we want it if we wanted. But I also, at the same time, and when we say we want you all to help plan it, what we really mean is we want you to come up with the ideas, where, like locations and stuff. The logistics of phone calls and invites and stuff, like the staff will do that for you. So you don't think that you have to pick up the phone and call and do all that stuff. We'll handle that. But we need your help in doing, deciding where you want it, how we want it set up. Like, do we want a roundtable discussion? Do we want certain topics to be discussed, things like that? Those are the things that we'll need some advice on, and then we can bring that structure back to the board as a whole, and you guys can, decide on approve that or not. But the other issue is that we had a meeting with Delora Middle. We have a community leaders meeting. I probably need to start bringing Nick to that, because a lot of their inquiries are, what can the kids, how can we get our kids involved with you all? And we've been talking about creating a kid board for sustainability, and that age group is a great age group to do that with, because our seniors at Satellite are here a lot with us with internships and stuff like that. The younger kids, we do a lot with Surfside Holland, and we're there all the time. They have little chickens and their gardens and stuff. But the middle school is where we kind of have that vacuum, if you will, of not doing much. So we were thinking maybe that would be the age group that we look at for establishing that. And then we have some interns coming in with Satellite that could be their kind of guides during that period of time. That way we can include them as well in this summit.
So they would have a sustainability board for the school, basically, or to do projects at the school?
Right, and here in the city. So they would help, kind of create some, because sometimes they have a perspective that we don't have, I get asked like a lot about, and what I was going to talk to you about as a project, why don't we have those water bottle fountains like everybody else does, and stuff like that. It's stuff like I just probably wouldn't think about unless a kid came up and told me that, Same with the skate park, why don't we have these, recycle bin at the skate park, and, those little things that we don't see because we're not kids using the facilities and stuff like that, and they are. So they would be able to kind of make those recommendations for you all, and we'd ask them to attend the meetings and stuff like that, and they'd be also getting their first, experience with government, which is also, important for us to do. So if that's something that you all want to involve them with, then that would give us time to get Delora to choose them. And because Delora also, about 50% of their students come from Sun Riviera, so by establishing that board, we would also have maybe some of those kids from that area, which is also another perspective, and kind of branches out regionally, which we were talking about with the sustainability, summit. So if we can have some time and maybe shoot for January as a time frame to do the summit, and then we can start off the new year with that, maybe kind of make that a ongoing effort with the rest of the boards. I think that would be good.
Am I correct? Cocoa Beach and Cocoa boards now?
Cocoa does not yet. Cocoa Beach does, and the Atlantic does.
In the Atlantic, okay.
And Melbourne is appointing theirs. I think they're in the process right now,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Is it
Yeah.
Mel Beach trying as well?
Mel Beach has one, but it's not real. A friend of mine is on it.
Palm Bay has one?
Palm Bay's trying as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's on it.
The crew.
But
What are they willing to take it a little
yeah,
more seriously? Or?
I think so, yeah. They just may not have all the support they need from their city council like we do.
Well, if you're doing a summit and thinking of agenda items, one I'd think of would be each community's, how do we go about it type things, lessons learned, whatever.
Mhm.
I know talking to the people in Cocoa, they have different issues than we do as far as how to get started. And so,
Yeah. So if we did a workshop in November to workshop ideas for it, we can meet previously before that, get a bunch of ideas ready, bring them to the board, bring them to the workshop, and then, John, you can, bring those ideas and more, and we could flesh everything out and create a list, so by the end of November, we can have a list, we can bring it back to discussion for approval in December, and then by January, we'll be ready to go.
And I think when, kind of like the League of Cities, we have all the cities participate, but we all rotate the meeting responsibility around, and so maybe we do this one, and then the next year is, Cocoa Beach, and the next year after that is Melbourne, and the next year after that, and kind of create a momentum that way.
So we would just meet yearly?
Or whatever you all decide. So you all might, get together and,
Biannually or something?
yeah.
you mentioned November. There's a point in November where suddenly the pace of the world slows down. So
If you want to do it in October, that's good too.
I'm just saying, you might want to start earlier rather than
Okay.
later.
All right.
Because you can find it hard to get people in
Yeah.
December and all that stuff.
That's a good point. Okay.
So the cities that I have listed are Titusville,
Titusville has
Cocoa
they
Beach,
call it the
Melbourne.
Titusville Environmental Commission.
Indialantic, Mel Beach,
Cocoa Beach.
Cocoa Beach, I got Cocoa Beach,
Palm Bay's putting one together.
Palm Bay has two.
Did they vote on it yet?
No, not yet. October.
October?
Yeah.
But not Cocoa proper.
You said you wanted to slow down on this?
I don't know if we want to slow down. I think it would take 3 months to plan something like this personally, with that many groups. And we'd want to kind of put together an outline of what we're looking for and then send it off to those organizations so they have time to put it on their agenda, discuss where they want to go, how they want to participate. And if it takes us going to those meetings, I can certainly do that. Or, he'll do that.
Because the thing is, these groups will only meet once a month and not always at the same part of the month. And then you've got to give some lead time to reserve a venue wherever that might be.
Right. So I think, we'll have to take the initiative to create the date. And to be able to ask them what a good date is not feasible. I mean, that's too
We
many
need to
people.
provide it.
So we just pick a date, pick a venue here, and then invite them to participate.
Like after the first of the year, is that
Yeah,
what?
Mhm.
yeah.
I'd move for the A-frame if it was available.
It's too
Too
loud.
small?
It's too loud. I would do
Too
it at
loud?
Civic Center.
Civic Center?
Yeah. And then we would just want to sit down with you two and decide how we're going to focus that meeting. What is that going to look like? Because there are a lot of boards, some may not want to participate, but there are a lot of boards, so to have everybody sitting around one table might be difficult. So we might want to have each community, present maybe to the others, and then maybe have an open discussion, question and answer period or something like that, just because of the size of the groups that are coming.
I kind of like how we did it for the ambassador,
Mhm.
Okay.
the climate change ambassador.
Mhm.
Just move from table
Move from table to table? You want to make that? Yeah.
And-
Okay.
Yeah, that way you get to meet different people, or, well,
We could do assigned seating, and that's important. Sometimes we do that to make people sit with other people. Otherwise, you just sit next to each other.
Yeah. And that way we could have one person from every group at a table.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then to have, some of the, we could have an educational component too for the boards. So if there's some major interest from all the boards that, people are interested in, maybe the county sewer utility, stuff like that, can come and present to you all to give you an update on what's going on in the county, some environmental issue that people care about. Maybe have a speaker, speaker or two that goes beyond the boards, but, some speaker of interest to all the boards. We can also do that. So those are some of the things that, we can think about. But I think it would be a pretty good, like a landmark meeting, honestly, with our county. So it'd be, and we'd also invite the county, to participate. Even though they don't have a board, they have the largest department and one of the best departments in the state for natural resources. So, it's important to have them involved.
I presume this would be an open meeting, which means if anybody wanted to show up, they could.
Oh, absolutely. It'd be a public
Yeah,
meeting.
so you may have some.
So how do sunshine laws apply to something like this?
We would, all of the cities that are involved would notice the meeting. So it'd be in the paper. We'd open it to the public, obviously. And it would be very difficult to take minutes, so I'd probably have a video of it.
Okay, that's great. So that's the second topic. Leads well into the third topic, which is going to be going backwards in time to our last meeting. We selected a green achievement target that the Sustainability Board wanted to move forward with. However, after some review, we might want to refocus the direction of the Sustainability Board away from creating what was the lead standard for green buildings in the city, as that will probably be done more internally through staff and then brought to the board. So revisiting that topic, again, my recommendation originally was to go for the workshops, so that everybody would work on creating a workshop, so that in 2018 we can hold workshops that highlights certain topics that we each find important, that we could bring out and put in the Beachcaster and on Facebook and have as available to the community. So whether it's the community garden type of thing, composting, rain barrels, dark skies, recycled bags, and have workshops for each of those types of things. That was my recommendation. Courtney has a list of the green achievement targets, and
This is why I'm here.
this is why she's here, so I'm going to hand it over to Courtney.
When we have two ways of achieving green achievement targets. One is projects that you all like to work on, like you all did the community garden, the bat houses. These are things that you all like took ownership of and actually went out and did. Then there's things that you can't do because you're not an employee of the city that we have to do. So what we need you to do is tell us what you want us to work on over here, and then the things that you want to work on too. And those can go at the same time. But like when we look at wanting to focus on LEED building standards, that's literally something the staff has to do. So we will be glad to do that, but at the same time, it's important that you all are out in the community doing a project that's very visible, in my opinion. So there's things like, I have some suggestions if you need them. I'm getting a lot of criticism for the green St. Augustine grass at City Hall. Is there a way that you all could look at some alternative plantings in that area and come up with something, and maybe an event that would draw people to help plant it? Similar to what we did with the shoreline.
Yes.
Stuff like that. There's that.
And native plant replacements, working with Aquatic Plants of Florida, who we have a seed relationship with, where there's a number of native grasses that we
Right.
could use in place.
It's hard for me to tell people to tear up their lawn when, this is what we have.
So if we work with Public Works to create a schedule to do that, then when it came to boots on the ground time, then the board would be involved with volunteer outreach and running that event, along with me. Of course, that would help.
Well,
The other-
if you're talking about landscaping, something my wife and I have been messing with now for a year or so, is, and you mentioned St. Augustine, alternatives. There's one neighbor that's used the Seashore Paspalum. mixed results there. I'm not sure.
Was that the guy on the corner of?
Yeah, Rosada and Maple.
Rosada Maple.
That lady on the Jamaica, right off Jamaica.
Oh,
Seen
God.
that house?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Dave Vigliotti did talk to her, and
Uh-huh.
she was willing to come in and talk to us as a,
Pretty.
as a speaker.
Where is it?
It's on Jamaica, right off Jamaica. Right next to
Trinidad.
Lorraine's, right next door to Lorraine Scott's house.
It's, yeah, on Trinidad.
Okay. She's into
So pretty.
different, like she's got all the rain lilies out. front.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, people do, and there are legitimate reasons to have some turf.
Sure, yeah.
St. Augustine is by its nature a wetlands grass, which is dumb to put on the Brother Island. So the Seashore Paspalum, Bill Mayer tried it years ago, didn't work. This guy, I'm not real sure that it worked very well. She and I had gotten some seed, but that was last fall, and it was too late to put it in. We're trying now Bahia grass
Mm-hmm.
in two places, and it seems to be doing pretty nicely. And we're not irrigating, once it's established, it's on its own. Another one that she just happened to get a square of is zoysia grass,
Yes,
which I'd never really
I heard about
thought
Zoysia.
about.
I thought about it.
But
Can you spell that, John?
it is
Zoysia?
Zoysa or something, I don't, anyway, it is really, it was, your standard,
Did it work?
we stuck it in, watered it for a bit and let it go. It's already moving.
Really?
Yeah, now, a downside that my wife has concern about is it does creep by rhizomes, about that deep.
Uh-huh.
So if you've got a garden bed and you don't put a barrier up, it'll be in your garden bed.
Okay.
And then there's Bermuda grass, and I know some lawns in the city that nobody planted. It just volunteered in, and it's an incredible, but again, if it gets where you don't want it. But, one of my thoughts was, if you want to do something with City Hall, one possibility would be able to turn at least part of it into what I'll call an experimental station. Okay, here's Zoysia, here's
At least half and half.
that kind of thing, in other words, you basically begin to put things and say, okay, what about this? There's also sensitive vine, Mimosa strigolosa, which is a neat
Mimosa
ground cover.
works, yeah.
In other words, you could put, like 3x3 patches or something and see how they fill in and how they do. There's all kinds of things you could do, but instead of just saying, here's a landscape, you say, here's an experimental station.
Sure. And so those are the things that, if you, like, that's one suggestion. I also had, was looking for if any of you have an environmental issue that is specifically important to you, that, for example, I work a lot with the county on a lot of things. Right now, we're pressuring them about the sewer utility. We have issues with, the beach renourishment that we're trying to finish. There's other, broader things that if any of you all want to be involved with that, it helps me if I can bring a board member with me to those things, because that gives a lot of, like, validity and importance to those meetings. So if there's something that you all want to assist, if there's anything you're interested in, just let us know so I can call you and see if you, sometimes you won't be able to make it, but if you can, it'd be great if we could get you to come along. So that's another thing I wanted to suggest, just to get you more out and involved in some of these issues that are, maybe not so much public, but, just problem solving, more or less. So that was another one.
Can you provide a list of what those things are?
Yeah, I'll send it out. Yep.
It's kind of opaque to us.
Mm-hmm, sure. There's, then we also have we're shooting for the end of November, correct, with the business luncheon?
Yes.
And at that luncheon, we're going to be asking our businesses, especially our food service industry, to start switching their utensils. and stop using plastic bags and things like that. So if any of you are interested in that, it would be great to have your assistance in finding a company that sells those items. We want to have that ready at the meeting to show them what looks like, what the cost is. If any of you have a particular interest in presenting that would be good. Sometimes people get tired of hearing me, so it'd be nice if we had some other people, this is what I found, this is how much it costs, this is, that type of stuff. So,
Is the city going to host this?
yeah, the city's hosting a luncheon with our businesses. This is Councilwoman Gibson's initiative.
Okay, so the point is, if we could find the materials, whatever food you present, it could all be,
Food utensils.
yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
is, in other words, if the city could, it should be a sustainable meal.
That's correct, absolutely, yeah. So we're looking at sustainable alternatives to plastic silverware.
I think Keep of Our Beautiful has already done that.
Have they?
Yeah, they have.
Do we have
as
that
part of their litter
information?
litter
You know all that then.
program, they
Alice
offer.
Ortega has all that information. She's moved to my.
No, well, I know her replacement, yeah.
Yeah, she has.
And then we would
They've
want to present
actually-
it there.
They've actually talked to vendors and had a discount
Okay.
set up.
If we
Now,
could
I
work
don't
through
know-
them, that'd be great, because we couldn't work through the company because we're the city, and the paperwork and the insurance was something that we couldn't get through.
We should definitely either invite them or have something.
Yeah,
about
from
the
US
litter
Foods, I
program.
mean, we had an issue with the contract on US Foods. For some reason, we weren't able to move forward. Does that not sound familiar? Okay. So we did get those utensils for the community garden event, so you'll see, I think they're made out of wood, actually, cedar or something like that. So that'll be a good first step to kind of get everybody.
If you'd like, you can actually go to KBB's page. They live videoed the whole meeting with all of those vendors.
Yeah?
So it's like an hour long or something, but you can actually watch through that and see all those people present.
Okay, cool.
But for this luncheon, we would want, we're going to have we need examples and then, advocates at the meeting for this, so, any help that you all want to provide with that would be important. And it's important for your attendance, so we'll send that information. Even if you don't want to present or, can't contribute to the planning of it, just your presence there would be important, to sit at the tables with them and, talk to them about how important this is and, why they need to do this and stuff like that.
Well, is this also a venue where Jazzy, with your recycling,
Salon recycling?
yeah, in other words, other
Mm-hmm.
services?
Oh, yeah.
That might
It's
be a
not
great
just
thing to
restaurants.
present, yeah.
you know,
Because we're going to
to
have all the
present.
businesses, all the local businesses in our community that have a storefront. We have a lot of home-based businesses, but that's not really what we're targeting.
I guess what I'm suggesting, you might think beyond the food service.
Well, we are, the whole business, but that's one of the major users of plastic, in our community is food service.
But there's other items on the agenda.
Yes, there's definitely.
Can you
And
send me
we're-
the date on that? Because I'd like to go to that.
Yeah, we're still,
Like finalized.
yeah, we're still finalizing the date and the location, and the caterer, right?
We're going to discuss all that next Friday.
Okay. What else did I have? I think that's it.
Okay, so moving from the board and their next green achievement target to
Wait
focus
a
on.
minute, before we're done, is the food going to be, or attempt to be, whatever, they got the sustainable food business now, too? Just raising the issue, suggestion. You know what I'm talking, in other words, you can buy coffee that's been,
I think for this meeting, we're trying to get them to change something that's pretty costly or in their minds is, so we're trying to do baby steps and introducing the idea to them.
Okay.
Introducing a program of recognition, that will, recognize them for that. And then introducing the city's programs, that we're trying to implement for them, that are aside from sustainability. So it's a broader luncheon, but with a definite sustainability focus. to try to get them to participate in litter quitter program, reducing their use of plastics, and perhaps even looking at renewable energy and things like that.
Are you going to do with them like you did with the ambassadors, and at some point go around and get their opinions on different topics?
We're definitely going to be asking them what they need from us. So there's only so much we can do in one lunch. So we're going to be introducing these, the sustainability program, talk about what the city initiatives are, kind of update them on the city initiatives, and we're presenting a bag that we created that has a lot of city information in it. We're handing those out to realtors to give to new residents, things like that. So those are the programs that we're introducing to them at the luncheon. So, we have an hour, and they're businesses, so that hour is just an hour. It's not, when you go to like a chamber luncheon, you leave, you come in, and an hour later you leave. There's no overage because you have to get back to work. So, we got to make sure that we do in that hour what we reasonably can accomplish.
Is the
in that hour.
intent that this is the first of multiples?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Can
That
we
makes
tie-
it easier. You start, and then you can.
Right.
Okay.
Do you think we could tie in dark sky stuff with that, like just talking to businesses about exterior lighting? Maybe we have a lighting
Yes.
person?
And that's the other thing, with the staff, we are looking at, we have a goal of that timing, but when we're looking at our codes in our parks, we think that we can achieve that designation pretty quickly. So we're going to be talking about that.
I believe Hightower was the designated location we're going to shoot for first.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, like, for businesses, we're not requiring this of businesses, but if we can explain to them
Right.
why it's not only.
And I have a list
great-
of the lights that are the recommended ones during CTRL season, so we'll add that
Yeah.
to that
You
conversation.
say, hey, this can reduce your energy costs.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think every luncheon, if we look at doing this like quarterly, with our business community, every luncheon we can introduce a new concept. Here's something else you can do. And because of the sustainability focus of the city, I see like every luncheon having something, there that we can, have that connection to. So that would be like another thing that the board would guide us on, is what do you want to introduce with the businesses this quarter, stuff like that. So.
I think if it's for the businesses, every intent that we would approach them with needs to come from a cost-saving measure, just to get their interest. If the small businesses around here, they don't want to find another, and then it would look more friendly to them if we were introducing ways to save them money,
Yeah.
if we can take it from that aspect.
I wonder if we can find out if there's a way they can be more agreeing with the existing vendors that they have. Maybe the vendors that they're using for their cutlery already have an option.
I think that's part of the KBB options that Dylan had mentioned in the video.
Okay.
I'll look into that.
Does that have the cost difference? Because that's a good point. Does that have the cost difference in it? Okay.
It does? Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Is there a big difference? Do you know?
I don't think it's very significant.
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
I'll come back with some figures.
Okay. I'm done.
Do you have anything else?
Well, I wanted to finish up that point before I finished. So that was about the changing of with the green achievement target. So since you guys aren't going to be focusing on that specific target, and that's going to land more on staff's shoulders, my shoulders, I wanted to make sure that everybody now puts a little homework assignment for next meeting and look at the green achievement targets again, especially since we have new members. I would like to have new input. So go on, look at the green achievement targets that we have on our list, on the website, and see which ones you think belong in those two columns, and then kind of give me your organization on which ones would you like to see staff do first? Which green achievement targets would you like to see the community be involved with from the board's perspective? So if it's the grass out in front of Xeriscaping City Hall, and that's a #1 priority, that's fantastic. Let us know at the next meeting, and then we'll take that list and we'll go ahead and we'll start tackling it. I'll come to next meeting with the list of what we already have so that we can compare lists. And that's going to include things like community garden being checked off, solar being hopefully checked off, I think soft infrastructure will fall into the NEP project that's being done at the SOTA. So if that all goes well, by then I should have all that completed with NEP. We'll come to an agreement. And then when that project is underway, we'll definitely be, keeping the board involved with workshops and events and public outreach and things like that. But that's my kind of homework to you guys, is go ahead and take a look at those green achievement targets and come back with that priority list of what you want the staff to work on, which I think we're going to start with that green building standards. And then what the board is going to work on, which is going to be that GAT number 5, which is landscaping in City Hall. I think that's kind of where we landed today.
Well, I think, you all can individually pick a project, like you did last time. Jazzy brought us the green, dark skies. We would have never known about that if she didn't bring it to us. So it's stuff like that. Like if there's something you have an interest in, bring it to us so we can help you get it done. And with the, so if we'll send out a list of the things that we're as a staff working on, that sometimes you all don't know, and see if you all want to go with us and participate with us. But if there's an individual project that you feel is important, that's what we are hoping that you'll do is bring those things to us. Because a lot of times it may not be listed specifically here, but it fits in with the target, The other item is that DeSoto Park, when we get the particulars of that park design, right now we're trying to get permits for the stormwater piece, but after that, we got to build the park once we build the stormwater. And there's aspects of the park that we want you to review to make sure that we're not putting in something that we're not thinking of, that's not sustainable or could have been better. Do you see what I'm saying? Because sometimes we don't think of everything. So we'd like to bring those designs and ideas to you and have you vet those through, make sure that we're not doing something inadvertently wrong with that project. That's one of our new projects that we're building. So if we put something in that's, as a mistake, that doesn't send a good message to the community. So I want to make sure that we do it exactly right, make sure that it's vetted well before we put it in the ground.
So who's actually doing the digging of the stormwater park? Is that a city project, or is that?
That's a city project.
Okay. So you're going to have to pay to cart all that dirt away.
Usually when you put that out to bid, the dirt is, the contractors sell the dirt, so that's part of the price that you get in your bid.
Because I have an idea what to do with all that.
He wants to build a bike trail.
Mountain bike trail.
We can get all the dirt we want from the county. Like when we do sandbags, we have no problem because they have too much
I'm talking about a lot.
Where do you want to build this?
In between all the Bismarck palms, along that long, or basically all the way around on the perimeter, even all the way up to the community garden, maybe even continuing around. But you would essentially just pile dirt up, alternate it like that, where you could have banks, and it'd all be shaded, and we could save a lot of money on carting all that dirt away. And I think you'd get a lot of support. And the other thing is that it would bring back an interest in cycling and mountain biking to kids, I think. Give them like another
Get them out of the skate park, because I get complaints about them every day.
Yeah. I mean, you may get some pushback from the people that live behind it, that it might be noisy, but I personally don't think it would be. But, that's something that we would have to...
You're talking bicycles, not motor driven.
Yeah, just bicycles, mountain bikes. And there shouldn't be too much maintenance to it once it's set up. And like down in Palm Bay, they have a mountain bike club, and they have a trail down there.
I think there's enough room where you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Do you? Okay. So can we walk that site with Alan and Dave and see what
set
we're
up a
talking
walk.
about?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to bid it out if we're going to end up using the dirt. So.
But yeah, I would like to just talk to you guys about it first, I guess, before we formally...
Yeah, because they're just going to turn around and look at me and say, can you look into it? So
let's go ahead and take care
let's
of it.
just look at it, yeah.
I will say I've been asked by people, where's a good place around here,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, and I'm like, Viera?
Well, the good thing is we're taking the dirt right there.
Titusville took an
we're
old,
moving it.
baseball field that nobody used. They took an old baseball field and made it into a dirt bike, right next to the skate park.
Titusville did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I've been up there.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, by the
Yeah.
marina.
Yep.
Sandpoint Park.
Mhm.
Yeah, ours would be much better.
Mm-hmm.
Than the shade, that's the key.
We do everything better. No offense to Titusville, but we do.
Okay, so back to our agenda. What else we have, Nick? Anything?
I'm going to yield my time. I think that's enough to digest for this week, this month.
Okay, so do we have any public comments? You have something, John?
You want to give us an update on?
Oh, solar update.
Solar.
Solar update, yeah, sorry, let's do a solar update before we call it today. Thanks, John. So solar update, yes. We received all of our bids from the 9 companies, and they have been under review. Even with the hurricane, we had a little extra time there, even though we were out of power for a while. But now that we're back up and running on the 3rd, there will be an open meeting where the team composed of myself, Zach, Courtney, Asad, and Suzanne will review the potential vendors. Prices ranging anywhere from $180 to, I think, $350. And payback periods from 11 to 18 years. So we'll go over all the details of these different potential vendors, make a selection of those vendors as to which ones will be invited to come back and present. They will come back and present on the 5th.
To city council?
No, to the selection committee.
To the committee.
So the selection committee's evaluation of of all the proposals, the first meeting is Tuesday at 10 o'clock here in the council chambers, if anybody's interested. In the presentation we shortlist, we'll shortlist them to about 3, hopefully. Hopefully not 5, but 3.
Thursday.
In that presentation will be Thursday at 9, from 9 to 11, those presentations.
That's next week, Tuesday.
Next week,
Mhm.
yeah.
So Tuesday, what time?
10 o'clock on Tuesday, 9 o'clock on Thursday.
That's the short list?
Yeah, Thursday is the shortlist presentation, which is probably way more interesting than the Tuesday meeting.
Yeah.
What time it is on the 5th?
On the 5th, it's 9 o'clock, from 9 to 11.
And they're all going on the flat roofs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nothing on the,
Yeah, that's the flat
I don't
roof
know.
for City Hall.
There's different designs for each.
They're all
they've
flat roofs
Oh, they all?
for City Hall, nothing on the breezeway. Everything will be discussed during those meetings, but
We can't really talk about it.
we can't really talk about it. So, I mean, all that I can say is that those are the dates and those are the times. And that we're very excited to get this Green Achievement Target checked off the list. And on a subject about solar that I can talk about is the Pelican Park solar project with FPL. That got approved just before the hurricane. And they're going to be installing canopies at Pelican Park, parking canopies.
And doing all the electric for our events.
So, in line with that, they'll be improving the
I don't know what
electric.
more I'm just excited about, the electric for the
I
events.
think it's more about the electric than the events.
what are you talking about, electrifying the parking lot? Or?
Yeah, so like when we have the Ocean Reef Beach Festival and you have extension cords flying all over the place and the electric caves down because we don't have the support there, which happened a couple times. We did some improvements, but they used the wires that we needed for our cameras. FPL, in putting in the canopy, is putting in the wiring necessary and the outlets for
For the vendors for events.
How hurricane-proof are these things?
Oh, they're rated for 150, I think?
Hopefully better than Lungs RX, but we'll see.
Now, how much canopy are we talking about?
16 feet tall with,
It's basically the westernmost
yes, okay,
set of...
good point. So first, it's between, on the west side of the parking lot, from the entrance to the first set of palm trees there, that first row, that's where this one's going to go. And it's going to be enough shade for everybody that does, those farmers markets, where they can go ahead and have
So
some
they don't have to
refuge.
put the tents up, they just have to put their tables out. It's definitely a nice amenity, so it's not only solar, that's,
Yeah,
it does it's like a demonstration to the community of what, it looks like and what it can do. And we'll have educational kiosks out
Provided
front
by FPL.
and they're paying for this whole thing. We're really doing nothing but providing the land.
And the vendors then don't have to run their gasoline generators.
That's correct.
Win-win. So that's a happy update on
We
solar.
get shade and free outlets. but no-
Shade.
no power, that goes right back to you.
Correct, yes,
Right.
yeah.
Good trade-off.
Do any of your solar contractors for you're talking about for this building?
For this building.
Do any of them, and I know that technology's not there, but does anyone talk about future capability for battery or storage?
We offered that as part of our ask for the RFP. And again, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about the details, but it will be covered during the meeting. That is definitely a topic that was part of that discussion. Yeah.
Just thinking what we just all went through, it would be nice to.
Oh, absolutely.
Here could provide power to a resident.
And again, right after the hurricane, we did have power at City Hall because of the generator.
Correct.
Yeah, so be nice to be able to run without the generator.
Yeah.
It'd be huge.
Well, normally now, I think if anybody puts in solar,
It goes out with
you
the power.
really want to build it in a way so it isn't too hard to add batteries
That's
later.
why I want to make.
Right.
That's the-
And I think that's where the inverters come in. The technology with the inverters has come a long way. And some of them have the capability to plug into. I'm not sure which one, again, which company has what. But those are some items that we did have on there which are being discussed.
We could, if you would like, if you can't make the Thursday presentations, we could record it and send you the video if you all, would you all like that? Is that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see
let's
that.
do that, okay.
You want a video of the?
Yeah, I think that would help
Didn't you?
because
video
they might
the-
not, it's 9 o'clock in the
We did.
morning,
Yeah, you plan to video the selection Tuesday meeting?
We can, but it's not very exciting. It's,
Oh, it's not exciting.
have you looked at the qualifications? It's very tedious, and we have, how many proposals?
9.
9 to go through, which is
But
actually quite a bit.
it would be, even if you don't post to a Facebook or anything, you've at least got, if somebody for some reason wanted to look at it later on as,
We record it,
on audio.
For
On audio.
posterity. If you want a podcast, listen to it, John. I'm sure that you can spend some time.
John would have an interest in it.
I'll probably be here.
Christopher, you had a question earlier?
Sure. I'm just curious of the data completion for the Pelican Park project. When they expect.
They wanted to turn that around before the end of the year. They've already had surveyors come out. And if it goes well, since you were here for the beginning conversations, if it goes well, we may have them do stuff here at City Hall, but that wasn't part of the agreement.
Well, it was a funding issue, because they
Right.
have, their agreement with the Public Service Commission, they had a round of funding that's dedicated to this type of outreach. It's like, it's not really, they don't consider it a source of power, really, because the panels aren't big enough, really. They're building solar fields right now, one major one out in the West Melbourne area, Palm Bay area. Those are their power sources. These are more of a kind of outreach to the community of what solar is, how much it costs, what does it generate, that type of thing. And that round of funding, they could either do City Hall with the solar trees, or they could do this. And I thought this would be more visible, and plus it, we wanted the outlets.
Yeah, win-win for us, absolutely. Yeah?
I'm only curious, do they put an information plaque next to these?
Yes,
Oh,
it's
cool.
16
Yeah.
feet tall by 4 feet wide,
Oh, that's cool.
something like that, I think.
Mhm.
Can the canopies come down, like in the case of a hurricane? Are they an easy enough thing to just remove so you don't risk them getting damaged?
No, they're
permanent
semi-permanent
structures.
structures,
They're built to withstand it.
yeah. Yeah.
If we got a Cat 3,
See these
though, we'd
here
probably
that
pick
they-
up solar panels from A1A.
Hopefully they can handle the salt spray. Unlike the
That's what they said, yeah.
the ones over there on the,
Long
one.
Yeah, we picked those up from A1A.
Yeah, well, they were also corroding.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep an eye on them, and again, it's, the beauty of the agreement is that we're not responsible for those solar panels in any way, shape, or form. We just rent them the land that they're gonna be placed on. So, yeah, that takes care of my time for this meeting, and we'll go ahead and move on.
Okay, so any public comment? All righty, moving on. Discuss, take action on the next green achievement target to be completed. Did we already talk about this?
We kind of discussed that, remember that we're going to come back next time,
We did sustainability summit.
so we can really have a discussion on things.
Oh, okay, so we already did all these, but, okay. So is there any public comment on that? Discuss, take action on task assignment on sustainability summit. We already did that. Any public comment on that? No? Project updates from board members? Okay. You have anything?
I'm gonna pass this time, I'll be back next time with videos, so.
Paul?
I do not have any updates at this point.
I don't have any updates.
Okay. So the only thing I've been working on is the community garden. And like you said.
Thank you for all your.
We had to do a redo.
Yeah.
The design, I mean, the idea behind the irrigation design, again, I can't thank Dave enough for.
We need to work on making it a little prettier now, because.
Well, we'll put up the trellis in front of it. I mean, we'll put the little trellis in front of it like we talked about, and we'll get there.
Julie and I will go there and we'll figure something out.
It's either you put all the pipes in the front so it's maintainable, or
Yeah.
you put them in the back, and then whenever you have a problem, it's horrible to work on. So.
Mhm. We'll figure out something. We could get MRC artists to,
That's
To
what I
paint
was
them.
thinking, we should paint them.
Yeah, I would suggest,
Yeah.
I mean, paint never really sticks.
Well, they're horizontal, so that's the
They're
problem with
horizontal,
them.
it'd be
They're
really
not-
hard to paint them.
Oh,
So you're
I
better off
see.
just like putting like a trellis in front of it, maybe.
Okay.
If you put a trellis and planted something on the trellis, made a vertical garden, you could shade it, keep it a little cool.
me and Novellis.
Yeah, as long as we had space to get back there to.
I think that's a great idea. There's plenty of space for that.
Okay.
So, John?
I asked Julie to send something around. We talked about balloons. And what was it, earlier this week? The next door line thingy, one section blew up because somebody was sending off apparently only a single one of these.
Paper lanterns?
Paper lantern things. And, immediately question was asked, is this legal? And the fire chief said, no, it's in the same class as fireworks. It is also dangerous. But then there was some blowback. At least one fellow really thought that this was silly, but anyway. And so balloons and those things and stuff may be a topic for a workshop or something, or getting this inserted in one of them. And also, if there's going to be any ordinances about balloons, I presume these things ought to fall into it also.
Do you
Well, they did it.
want to do an ordinance on balloons? Because we can prepare
No,
that.
I'm not saying
Okay.
do one, but if the city decides.
Do you all want to have that discussion? We talked about that, and it kind of fell off the
Well, we have a
radar.
band at Pelican Park now, right, during events?
The state has it.
That's just a policy of cities,
10 or
of our
more.
events, for city events.
Oh, just as
Yeah.
city hosted events, so if
Right.
you had a birthday party
That's
there
correct.
right now. or-
Yeah.
I'm just curious, how hard would it be, I mean, the people that release the lanterns with fire in them, what if they had to get like just like any other, bonfire or anything else, a permit to do that?
Those are actually illegal. Those are already
Yeah,
illegal
they're-
because of the fire.
state laws.
I've had to put out a fire at Magellan when someone launched one and the wind just blew it right back into the
Right.
dune line.
Yeah, so if we hear about it, then we will send police out
They
there to
didn't
tell
do
them to
anything, they
stop.
just all stared at it. I was like, what are you doing?
So, yeah, that's why when we hear, if you hear about it, like some people will send me Facebook post or something like that, and I don't see it till the next day, and I can't do anything about it. So I tell people, if you see that, please call the police department. That's their job. They will go out there and stop them, because that is not allowed, actually, and it is illegal already. But the balloons are not illegal. And I think we had an idea of doing something about that, and I think that fell off the radar.
But
And
again,
I don't know if
like
that's something
it
y'all want to
takes,
do.
some workshop at some point, you don't say it's illegal, but you say, here's the consequences, or that type of thing. In other words, begin to move in the direction of, maybe someday this won't be legal.
Well, does this connect in any way to fireworks that are
Well, paper letters.
seemingly a little bit out of control down here on New Year's Eve and on the 4th of July, or is it my imagination?
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Just only curious again, since these are end-of-life parties, is this maybe something that the funeral homes need to be educated on, or could there be alternatives?
Good
like a
idea.
paddle
Yeah,
out or
it's
something
a
like
good
that?
business outreach to add to the conversation.
That would be a good business outreach topic. That's a good idea.
So I remember when we reviewed the balloon thing a few months ago, and I thought that it was that the state already had a ban on balloon releases of 10 or more.
That might be true. The releases, we don't have a lot of releases.
Yeah.
What we have are birthday parties,
Mm-hmm.
and they are accidental releases, or they pop and they leave them on the ground, stuff like that. That's what we have.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that you all care enough about to go down that path. Council, there is a political unwillingness to totally ban things. But they may consider it if it comes from the board. So I don't know if that's something y'all want us to.
I think at a minimum, we should
Do
just
that?
start with education and push that, just like dog poo, it became a social norm to know
Correct.
it's wrong
That's
to do
true.
that. And it just starts with education.
Maybe like a Beachcaster article and Facebook post of,
Yep.
Okay.
And
Maybe
workshop.
even-
Kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
In
Okay.
other words, just start.
And then depending on the
raising
workshop, how the
awareness.
workshop goes, what response we get back, maybe then we go towards bringing it to council.
Well, when somebody goes to Pelican Park to reserve a canopy for a birthday party,
They sign an agreement.
they sign an agreement. Is there something we could put in there that, just to discourage it, say the city?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What about with the Pelican, the outdoor rentals? Is there anything about balloons in that, or? 'Cause
No,
that
I
would
feel like
be-
work with
That's what
Cassie
I
on
think,
that.
yeah, I think we could add some language to those agreements that say that.
Yeah, and I mean, putting it out there on Facebook
Maybe
with
put a
so many
little sign
citizens
at the
that.
rec center desk,
Mhm.
yeah.
But we
And
have
same thing with foam containers and
Mhm.
just trying to discourage it as much as possible, because before we go out the ban route, because I know
Yeah.
Yeah.
some council members are.
And it's always easier too in the community to just get people to change than to force them to change and then you get backlash, so.
Yeah, just raising the awareness. I mean, I was at the beach one day, and some couple who appeared to be from out of town had like a grandchild with them, and they had this basket of like 10 water balloons, and they put it out on the beach, and they start throwing them, and they start popping, and I went over and I'm like, let's talk about why this is a bad idea. And they're like, yeah, we just realized that, and I'm picking up the little pink pieces all over the beach and everything like that, and I mean, they had good intentions to have fun at the beach, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, this is definitely a problem.
Yeah.
So I think, we can utilize Facebook, because a lot of our citizens see that as well. Maybe we can put up a little information thing at some of the beaches.
Does anybody want to
Actually-
craft a message?
What you could do too
Want me to
is,
do that?
when they do a rental, either at or actually at any of the places, they can provide a list of in other words, if you
Yeah.
don't want them to use styrofoam, you say, here's alternatives to styrofoam, here's alternatives to the plastic cutlery.
We
Just
encourage
to-
X, Y,
We
and
could
Z.
provide a flyer to the rec center to give to each rental person
Yeah.
with the keys.
We could have that, like the information about the biodegradable balloons.
Right.
Yeah,
I think photographs of maybe like how balloons negatively impact the environment and the strings.
Also,
Yeah.
I recommend, you've seen like the typography style videos with, more some visuals, words slide over, and it's kind of like a short but brief video. We could do something like that that's like 40
Facebook.
seconds and
Okay.
put it out.
a good idea.
And as far as materials go, educational materials, again, I mentioned it the first time that this came around to council, balloonsblow.org is a fantastic organization that has all this information available. They're a nonprofit, they're, local-ish, they're an hour and a half south.
Okay.
I mean, she would be very happy to have us partner with her.
Did you all want to do this as a work product, and we'll have this ready for your next board meeting? Is that something you all want to?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll do that.
okay.
This is the type of action stuff we need to,
That goes understand.
get you moving,
Yep.
Okay.
All right. I guess you guys don't have anything yet?
I'll find one.
They're ready, I can see.
Yeah.
Sure you don't have
Find
anything?
something.
You might have something.
I'd like to be there for the cutlery event. Just
Okay.
concept, so.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that
Positive,
you're,
I mean, maybe I can speak about it a little
Okay.
bit, positive.
What are your
That'd be good.
backgrounds? Just curious.
My background is, I lived in Colorado for a while.
Nice.
And,
A big plus right there.
I worked in property management and development in Denver.
All
So
right.
that's my background. But I grew up here. I've lived here since I was 3 years old. And I moved to Denver for a little while, 6 years, and came back.
Where's here, Satellite and Beachside? Satellite.
everyone comes back.
Yeah, they got so many good ideas in Colorado.
Yeah.
Just blows me away every time I go there.
I have friends that just moved there because they got tired of not having good ideas over here.
I worked at TechScience all through the 2000s, and then after that, I went back to school. I went to Harvard for sustainability.
Oh,
Got my
nice.
master's in sustainability.
You're overqualified.
Yeah, you better be careful now, because I know that. That's not-
My emphasis is on, my thesis was on sea level rise.
Oh, my God, even better.
Oh. Hey, Ken, are you listening?
Well, welcome.
All right.
Thank you very much.
After the meeting, I suggest you talk to the tall gentleman back there.
All right, so any public comments on the project updates from board members? Okay, moving on. Agenda items for next meeting.
You're already going to have balloons.
Can I have
You got to give us
board-
deadlines, otherwise, we get busy.
Well, we should have a final on solar.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll have an update for the final and solar by then.
Okay, so I've had another idea that I just haven't gotten around to researching. So I guess with this different kind of format, I'll just throw this out here and see if it's something that people think we can do something with. So it turns out that Canada's just way ahead of us on a lot of the recycling things. And I guess that Canada has like community composting things, where they give you like a compost bin that's outside of your house and put the food in it, they pick it up, and they have like a citywide or community-wide compost, and everybody has access to it. And so I don't know if that's something that we would be capable of doing on a city level, or if it's something that we would have to get the county involved in, but I think obviously reducing food waste would be fantastic.
Absolutely. We researched that.
Well, I think you're talking about door pickup for composting, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because I think we talked about like with the community garden being able to have like a drop-off, which.
Oh, I see, a drop-off. Drop-offs are easy.
Right,
We
that's
talked about
easy.
that. And then there's the next level, which is the pickup, which is not easy.
Not.
Actually, we've
so
been
much
in
more
discussions with
participation.
Waste Management about that.
Yeah?
Yeah, about being a pilot community for food
And
compost.
they're excited about the idea, but to have the location to bring the waste to,
That's what they're working on right
it's
now.
too far away currently.
Yeah, so they're working on a
To
secondary
justify.
location.
We would fill up the entire community garden with compost, and then you'd just be walking around in compost, because there's,
Right.
not
And
enough.
private vendors that do pickup because they sell the materials to make the compost, or is that not?
Picking
occur
up compost is hard because of the
Or
wetness of it, and being able to contain that and not spill it all over the streets is hard. It's actually difficult. The Waste Management actually has specialized trucks that handle that. And they've done this in the south area of the state, but they've concentrated on large producers like Publix and grocery stores, stuff like that. And they have some areas that they've started with residential composting. But again, it's the the area, or, composting facility, that right now, for us, it's too far away for it to make any financial sense for them to do it. So they're trying to find a secondary location for this area. But until they do that, we're not going to be able to do that. But for city composting, you can do it. However, it's considered a NIMBY among many people. So the location of that is really hard to do. And, the community garden may be a good area for it, but people worry about animals getting into it, and, are you going to attract coyotes to my backyard?
Probably be rather
Yeah.
like where Public Works has their spoil pile now down at Sports Park. That's pretty much concealed in that area.
And that's where the coyotes live.
They're already there.
True.
We
We could just keep them there.
We were looking at the area behind Publix, if we could work with Publix. There was an
That's
option,
kind of what we were looking at.
because Publix would,
Because
if
there's
they
no
could.
residential really right there.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
actually,
I think it's a
are
great.
are you then thinking of involving Publix in this?
Yes.
They would be probably 90% of the,
Yeah, that's, and then they
well,
would,
that's the idea.
then they would fill up that facility before
They
we
have to
could.
take everything out of all those plastic containers that they package all their stuff in.
Yeah, and then we can combine some of our, yard waste to it, stuff like that. But that's
Yeah, that-
another job for Public Works, and that's,
but the thing is, what would you do with that volume? Because
give it to the community.
Yeah, that's just it. So then the community, whenever,
Yeah.
they want to do any planting or whatever, they have free access to
Yeah,
their
but it
people.
takes a while for compost to develop.
It does.
It doesn't do it overnight.
And if there was a surplus of it, we might be able to sell it
Just give it away. I
to
think.
other people if they had it, but if we could just give it away to our own community, that'd be.
There's a lot of logistics that we haven't worked out yet because we haven't
Yeah.
done it, but, those are just some of the ideas of trying to do something like that. That would be the preferred area because of the
Because
location.
that is a gap, that is a green achievement target. It is on there.
I came across an interesting idea. I actually sent a video over to David about it. It's someone had taken a bathtub, essentially created a like compost worm farm that actually then all of, I don't know if you guys know, but worm pea is actually great fertilizer.
Oh, yeah.
And an
I put
organic
it on there.
fertilizer. And a bathtub is essentially designed to drain in one spot. So you can use this compost to create a worm farm and then create organic fertilizer very easily with a bathtub. I don't know if that's something we did want to maybe try to do on a small scale and see how it goes.
As long as it looked good and was accepted by the community, it has a high, chance of success. There's the kind of backyard style of doing it, which is cool, which might be a good fun start. And then I want to also mention the more expensive prefab composters that exist. I reached out to some companies where if we wanted to get support and get the funding for it, you spend $50,000 and you get a fully functional composter that grinds it, mixes it, and then on the back side of it just empties out perfectly good compost. And you just walk up to it, and as a community member, you want to bring your compost, you just dump it in there.
If we were going to do a large scale, that's how we would have to do
You
it.
would have to do it that way, because to hire trucks, to people, to facility, to do all that, it would just be easier to get a piece of machinery that does it, I
Yeah,
think.
this,
Which,
this idea would be more, because we've already got that mini compost, out at the garden, I was just saying.
That would
could
be a
really
good
cool.
garden.
Yeah, we could
Something
like
on
build a
small
little wooden
scale.
fence around it so that it would like look
Yeah.
really nice. I like that as a, maybe
Just that way we
phase
have
2 community
organic
garden thing.
fertilizer that is, we're
Right.
creating it ourselves.
Well, because we're almost full on our composter from the kitchen here at City Hall, so we're going to need somewhere to put that. So that might be a nice step to put that in.
Well, you got two scales. You've got a demonstration at the garden, and then if you get it going, it's more commercial scale if you're doing something up
Correct,
at
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's viable yet. I mean, there's not enough people generating that large of stuff, and for the most part, people can't even keep recyclables out of the waste stream and vice versa.
Let alone banana peels and apple cores, yeah.
I do composting at my own house. I have a little green bin, and you can get these
Yeah, I have
compostable
mine,
bags
too.
that you put in there. You fill them up, and then I just take the bag out. And I used to have one of those, composters, but all that did was attract a lot of roaches and stuff. I don't know whether I wasn't doing it right. So then I got to where I just dig a hole and bury it now and cover it up real well, and nothing seems to get into it. Or I take it and I put it into the barrel garden, because it has a cap and you dump stuff in there. And you can dump a lot of stuff in there. And so that's one way to do it. And you're feeding worms and...
Yeah, I have mine plastic composter that I just put on the ground so the worms can get in it and the bugs, but I had to build the dirt around it and plant around the edges of it so the animals didn't dig under into it. Yeah.
Wow.
But it worked once you got that where they weren't attracted to it. But you can't smell it. Nobody would know it was there unless you stood right in front of it and looked at it, because it doesn't smell at all and nothing gets in it now. But I had to go through that trial and error period. And what the problem with a citywide, is that we would have to ensure the community that nothing can get in it, and so you'd have to buy that commercial grade composter that people knew nothing can get in there, and it didn't smell, and so that's a job and a half,
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's not really that big of a problem for like the landfills, because they add organic matter to our trash anyway now.
It's giving people a different option for fertilizer. I think that's what that means.
I don't believe you should use energy to transport something away when it could be used right on site. So ideally, you want to
teach people to do it on their own.
Yeah, I think small
same thing with
scale
yard waste.
is our technique.
Same thing with yard waste. It's a good resource for your yard, but the problem is, how do you utilize it and where can you compost? But leaves and things like that, if you can have a designated area in your yard, you can just hide it behind something and just have an area where you pile stuff up, branches and leaves or whatever, and it'll biodegrade, and then you can use that soil. And that's
you can
something I
mix
think
it.
we should try to encourage before we...
That's a good idea.
Yeah, or target, if we want to go after targeting the reduction in the waste stream, we certainly need to go after these giant piles of debris that we have all over the city. And, like now, if we have somebody picking it up.
Well, it goes over to the transfer station, as far as I know, and they got a huge grinder there.
They mulch it. Yeah, you can go get mulch for free.
You can do
That's why we give mulch.
that. You can do that locally in the city if we had an area where we could dump it.
Well, there's
And you can hire
the rub. Where's the area?
composter to come by. I don't know what they charge. And then, then they would have huge mounds of compost that everybody could come and get.
We just need we don't have the area.
But you have to have people turning it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I don't know if it's...
I like the small scale kind of grassroots version. I think that might be something we can do at the community garden and then showcase for residents to maybe do in their backyards.
And if we have a long-term, if we have like a long-term goal of going, or thought of consideration of the larger scale system, the $50,000 system, I was thinking that business luncheon might be an interesting time just to start gathering information from the local restaurants about their waste stream process. And then again, on a cost saving measure, can we eliminate some costs from them providing their city if we can compost? They don't have to pay to get their waste removal if we're able to do it locally, just to start learning.
Well, these things, I think, can be synergistic because my wife and I frequent Taco Bell. They got paper cups, okay, they don't use styrofoam, but they've got the plastic utensils and lots of paper, huge amounts of paper. Everything's wrapped in paper. So their waste stream is probably 90% paper,
Yeah, well, you can compost
something
that.
plastic, and just a little bit of food. Really, there's some food mixed in with it. And the issue is that if it's paper and something that's biodegradable, that could go in with your compost presumably, and it would break down, but you don't want styrofoam mixed in with it. So it's kind of a, get a few things lined up, and
So I think workshops that teach people or incentivize to create that extra waste stream.
I'm thinking it might be interesting to have a workshop with representatives of the food industry in the city and say, let's talk about this. Because in my mind too, there's another waste stream, and that is the fats that come out of the kitchens. And there are, in big cities, companies that collect that stuff and it's converted into biodiesel.
Yeah,
Okay,
agreed.
so we've got, our problem
They're
is
probably
that we're
already
kind of,
Yeah.
distributed, but, we may be able to start small on different things and, talk about them together and say, what if we just kind of brainstorm.
Wasn't there going back to residential composting, and I think you made a great point where, it's better to have, to teach people to do that in their location rather than driving it somewhere and then getting it and bringing it back, Is there, I thought there was maybe Melbourne that was giving away composters as a program, or
Really?
somebody was.
Giving away compost?
Maybe you told me this? Somebody told me.
Like backyard compost?
Yes.
I'll look into
I
it.
know that, I think in Gainesville, someone is giving off kits or something like that where you can go and build one,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Was Orlando doing that?
Maybe it was Orlando. I think it was Orlando.
That'd be a good thing to give away at the community garden, like for
A composter?
well, one of those little,
Good giveaway.
Like the tumbler one that I have out there?
no, I'm just talking about the little one you set in the kitchen.
The Yucca Chucks. That's what I have.
What's that?
It's called a Yucca Chuck.
Is this like what we got in the kitchen
Yeah.
here? Yeah.
No, well, you got a different kind. But mine's a Yucca
Different
Chuck.
brand.
It's on the inside of my door. It hangs on the inside of my door, and you just
I'll try to get one and donate it or something.
Okay.
because that might be, like a workshop worthy,
Yeah.
where you teach people how to compost and
Yeah.
maybe do like how we did at the Lagoon Lawn, or the lawn program where we gave away like a drawing and people could get that, or you could buy a couple and do a drawing at your events,
Maybe we wanted to do something at Ocean Reef Beach Festival where we do a drawing for a few things like this.
Right, good idea.
A rain barrel, a composter, whatever.
And I definitely think we should
Native
do what we did
plants.
last year with the big notepad with ideas.
Yeah, I'll try to bring a rain barrel and give one of those away.
I was hoping we can make
Or
one
make them.
before the community garden event, and then we'll give one away at the community garden event.
So do you have a local artist that would paint it?
I don't know. I'm sure there are some around.
Someone from the beautification board did the one at their fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have an artist that'll do it.
Oh,
Tammy Estrada, she did one for the MRC. We did one. She'll do it, I'm sure.
Okay, I could
I'll make
ask,
her.
Oh, I know. Tammy and Ralph?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she would do it. Okay, so are we going to, this was an agenda, we're talking about agenda items for the next meeting, so are we going to make this into an agenda item?
I think for the balloon item will take a lot of our time between now and then, but we can bring back to you at the very least for the next meeting, a sampling of possible composters that you can, that we can purchase for the events, if that's something you want to do. But we also need somebody to maybe agree to come up with the curriculum or workshop content, something like that. Because I compost, but I don't think I'd be comfortable enough to give a workshop on it. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if anybody knows somebody that can do that, or if any of you feel comfortable enough, knowledgeable enough to give a workshop on it. We would need to identify that.
What about
And you
somebody with the
want board
extension
members to
service?
do that, and not me? Because then I could.
Can you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he can do
I
it.
have a textbook for it too, so.
Yeah.
I'll help.
But I think board members too presenting would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can work with a board member and
Yeah.
we can.
I
we
can
can
help
do
you
it.
with it. Okay, so,
Quick question, sorry. For the upcoming garden event, are we going to be doing, like, where we have kind of like some kind of drawings, people that walk or bike or anything like that? I know we had
Yeah.
briefly mentioned trying to do like a little bit of a,
yep.
A raffle, so we'll do a giveaway ticket raffle, so everybody that shows up gets a ticket,
okay.
and then we'll pull for different items.
Well, I was curious
Want the
about making
composters
it
for that?
into a competition, not like a
I can
competition,
one,
but
yeah.
trying to encourage biking, walking,
Yeah.
skating.
It's on the flyer.
So it is on the flyer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just take a poll, who rode their bike
They get a ticket
or walked.
or what? 2 tickets if you biked or walked versus 1 if you just showed up.
Oh, good idea.
There you go, that's perfect. So then they get 2 chances to win, and so we'll do a rain barrel, we'll do some plants, and we'll do
You
composter.
want to do a composter?
That sounds good? Little kitchen composter, I think? Yeah?
I would do either, like
Or-
if somebody won, they won one for their, a little one for their kitchen and a one that you put
So
in
like
the
what I have
bathroom.
set up for us here, but,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I can do that.
We can invite, like Florida Today or somebody to come out. We thought
I
about
think
that.
Melbourne Beachsider's going to be there.
I had reached out to Florida Today and News Channel 13.
Yeah.
But I will follow up with them.
I'll talk to my buddy
Date change.
that works with the photographer,
Okay.
Ben.
Oh, Ben, yeah, Ben's gonna be there.
Because I talked to
And
George
George.
and he said, you
Yeah,
Yeah,
George,
Ben's-
Ben's a good guy.
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Yeah, Ben and George will be
His
there.
kids get to go to preschool, where my kids go.
Doing
And then
that
should-
to agenda, we kind of waltzed all around this food recycling thing. I'd be interested in having a more structured discussion, trying to come up with sort of a, series like starting, okay, we'll do composting at the garden, we'll, the Publix thing, up to
You want a timeline on it?
kind of an idea of how you would do a natural progression up to eventually, ideally, perhaps.
Okay.
Like a
waste
list of
management,
the topics, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to come up with kind of a,
Step by
unless
step.
staff wants to present something, we discuss it, how we want to do it.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
The thing has all kinds of different scales at which you can do it.
Are you just talking about kitchen scraps, or are you talking about yard debris?
No, I was, well,
You want a step by
I
step
was thinking of
composting
it
plan.
from the food industry, but it wouldn't hurt to bring in the yard debris thing too. I know my wife and I had several times said, boy, it would have been nice to have had a chipper because we could have whatever.
That'd make you real popular with neighbors. That's the only thing I don't like about that, like cranking up a chainsaw or something.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I just see a workers' comp nightmare.
Yeah.
so,
That's what I see when I look at that.
We have a chipper.
I know,
It's on Sampson's.
Yeah, we used to, I don't remember running that.
but that's
thing a
run
long
by
time ago.
volunteers without my.
Oh, yeah?
It always broke down and it was
Oh,
just
yeah.
a nightmare. Yeah, we need the large scale chipper. We just-
Well, or you get ask Splenda to come in and,
Yeah, that's
and do
another
some
thing
chipping.
for the gardens. Why don't we try to get one of those tree.
chipper companies to come in.
Ask them to bring in there.
How do you pronounce that name?
Oh, I don't,
Asplund?
oh, okay. I'll change how I say it.
I always want to call it Asplunda too.
Yeah, they're always looking for places to dump their
The chip.
chip. You just don't want to, just want to make sure it's not like Brazilian pepper or something like that.
That's the chance you take, I think.
Mhm.
So I'm not clear what you're asking, John. You want us to come up with like a list of topics that go in front of the business people, or what were you trying to?
No. We spent quite a bit of time here talking about, we started with
Bathtub
recycling
composting.
food and stuff, and then,
Okay,
that
a progression of composting?
kind
what
of,
you're
yeah,
saying?
in other words, there's a whole waste stream from the food industry, restaurants, Publix, whatever. Is there, how could we deal with that in a more sustainable manner? And I think you said you've been talking to Publix, and stuff like that is getting a little better handle on how you might begin to scale it from, not jump into a $50,000 investment right away like that, but with the idea that eventually it will be handled either by waste management or totally internally. which I don't think is going to work.
I think a workshop could help. kind of clarify
Probably need to
that.
meet with a couple of restaurants, because there's a difference between Publix and like Long Daughters, you know?
Mhm.
Because Publix separates their vegetable waste from their meat waste, and you can't compost meat and, you
What
know,
about the
stuff like that.
vehicles? Where does that, do they separate those two?
Hmm?
Because I don't know how you would compost baked goods versus vegetable matter. They're green,
Yeah, they work.
so
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of their baked goods get sent off. I mean, I
That'd be
know,
nice if it is, yeah.
yeah, most of their baked goods get sent off
Okay.
to different organizations.
Well, if you think the best thing to do
Write it
is
all
to have,
down.
get a few of those folks and have a discussion,
I think there's just questions they need to answer, because I'm not I was an expert in waiting tables in college, but at this point, I don't know very much about how they get, and I think, like, when you're talking about the oils and stuff, I think there's already some restaurants that already do that. So we need to ask questions first before we
If
can.
there is, that'd be great, and we could know it and say, this is already
Right.
happening. But I could see like Publix, restaurants, fast food, each one of them, I think, has a slightly different
Right.
set of problems.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that luncheon will help us kind of identify some next steps with the businesses, you know.
Well, okay, one of the things you could do is say, we're interested in this.
Yeah, who wants to
Who here
participate?
would like to sit down and talk about it?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I could come up with a list of questions to
Okay.
ask the restaurants, local restaurants, just to start learning more about what we could do to help.
That'd be very helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way you'd want to approach it, I would think, is say,
Mhm.
hey,
Yeah, I can-
we're very interested in helping you reduce your waste stream and finding new uses for it.
How can we help you?
How can we help you?
And we'll go do that at the luncheon.
We already negotiated lower rates for commercial waste pickup too, by the way, so I just wanted to make sure.
I mean, there used to be a place in Orlando, actually, I think they do it here, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's single stream recycling. Do they have that? Because I don't see many restaurants that have a designated dumpster where they can throw
No, they don't.
plastics, cardboard, they don't have to, they can commingle it all.
Mhm.
And it turned out that it was cheaper to have that hauled away because
Really?
they
It's
could,
got value.
it has some value over just the standard dumpster.
I mean, can we put additional dumpsters at the
I'm
rec
trying to remember the
center?
name of the company. I think they're in Rockledge.
Yes. Mhm.
We'll coordinate. I'm just wondering, so we have cardboard at the rec center, it's community available. If we had additional dumpsters that the restaurants could then use, is there a way that we could incentivize them to use it?
They're not
The
gonna-
last thing restaurants are going to do
They're not
at
gonna
10
haul
o'clock
it.
at night is
Yeah.
put their stuff in the back of their truck and drive it over to the...
We would need like a volunteer team to pick it up for them or something.
No,
It's not gonna happen either.
there's services that'll do it for you. And you may be able to just say, hey, have you guys explored this option with these companies that, but I'll find out the name of the company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And get that, and see if they're still doing it or how that works.
Okay.
Okay, so back to the agenda items. Are we just gonna,
I think
Did we beat
we'll,
that one to
by that
death?
time, we should have some,
maybe for a future meeting?
we'll have the balloons on there, some ideas for the composting, and hopefully an outline for the summit and some effort there.
Okay, so we'll work on that and have something for the board to discuss on the summit. At least get some initial
Yeah.
ideas together and some dates.
Yeah, sounds good.
So we can't meet and
You have to
discuss-
meet with us, with the
Meet with
staff.
me.
We can meet with staff
Yeah.
and then, okay.
Yeah, we'll have to time it, and we'll put a notice, we'll notice that 2 or more board members are meeting with staff.
Okay. Do you guys want to set up?
Do we have to do it in here?
Yeah, it'll have to be recorded.
Okay. So we'll pick the day.
Oh, okay.
When are you available? We'll talk about it after.
Okay.
And then you can each email me dates and times, or email Julie dates and
Yeah.
times.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have to be there, so don't worry
Yeah,
about
I got you.
my schedules.
Okay, so you get all that, Julie?
Julie's probably already done all this, but she's probably internally laughing that we're
Okay, so
discussing.
are there any public comments on what we just talked about with the agenda items? No? Okay. We're boring you to death now. All right, so, discuss, take action on vice chair position, public comment, or not public comment. So, we're still looking for a permanent vice chair?
Correct, you're acting, we need a permanent.
Okay.
Wait, what's that?
We need to take action on a vice chair position.
But then Julie just said something.
I
He's
said
acting right
He's
now.
acting, we need to either,
Yeah, I'm not the chair, I'm just
Oh, which means we don't have a chair right now.
We have a chair, we don't have a vice chair.
vice chair,
yeah.
permanent vice chair.
Because Eugene's not here tonight, so he,
Oh, okay.
as temporary vice chair, is
Okay,
filling.
okay.
So I don't know how to,
Do you have a problem with being permanent vice chair?
no.
I so moved.
It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, so I'll take it.
Need a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Any public comment? All right, so moving on to the next one.
Gotta have a vote.
Paul Rosenberg,
Yes.
Christopher Reed,
Yes.
Amy Balda,
Yes.
John Fergus,
Yes.
Jazz Hennings,
Yes.
David Floyd,
Yes.
Karen.
I did not vote on myself.
You could have voted no.
It is weird, they make you vote on yourself, it's so funny. I always felt weird when I got voted in as a chair.
Confuse everybody even more. Okay, so any public comment on that? Or I guess we already did that. Adoption of minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Whatever minutes there are.
July 26, 2017, and August 23rd, 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jazzy, oh, sorry, Paul Rosenberg,
Yes.
Christopher Reed,
Yes.
Amy Balda,
Yes.
Jazz Hennings,
Yes.
John Fergus,
Yes.
Dave Floyd,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right. That's all we have for this evening. Appreciate everybody coming out. Meeting adjourned.